Section, right? Good meeting.
Oh, so we have to do it again?
You do.
So we have to bring them in.
Yeah, I think you gotta do it again. It's a brand new meeting. It's completely different.
Well, welcome to the committee of the whole, folks, for Tuesday, June 3rd. We need a motion and a second to allow Mr. Trustee John Baroda.
If I might.
Sure.
We need roll call first, and the established
Very
forum present, then have the motion. It's all news.
Rhoda?
We can't call.
Oh,
Here,
no,
No, you can't.
sorry,
He's not in the meeting yet.
okay. Right,
Here.
Black,
Here.
me,
Here.
Simon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
And Gus. And Gus said, if I will get it, sorry,
Good.
we're good.
All right, can I have a motion and a second to allow Trustee John Baroda to zoom into our meeting tonight, June 3rd, committee of the whole?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Justin Pluck, second by Dane Mead. Ready for a vote?
Brad Babcock?
Here.
Simon?
Yes.
Right?
yes,
Yes.
I'm here.
Rhoda?
Yes,
Black?
Yes.
Well, I thought you said last time.
It's fine.
Okay, I'm sorry, me,
Yes.
we'll get this.
As long as we have enough votes, it's all good.
Welcome, Trustee Baroda.
thank you.
Okay, we need approval of the minutes. I need a motion and a second for approval of the minutes for the meeting of the committee of the whole from May 6th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Trustee Pluck, second by Trustee Mike Simon. Roll
Me?
call. Oops.
Me,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Rhoda,
Yes,
Simon,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
right,
Yes. Second, approval of the minutes for the meeting of the committee of the whole from May 20th, 2025. Need a motion, and a second for that.
So moved. Second.
All right. Motion by Trustee William Babcock, second by Mike Simon.
Black,
Yes.
Rhoda,
yes,
Babcock,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
me,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, we have public comment at this point in time. You'll have a second chance if you hear anything during the meeting that you'll make a comment on. Anyone from online or anyone in the audience, thank you all for coming. Heard. Very good. Old business, we have some project updates. Joe?
These are ones that were requested by board members to put this on the agenda. First one is purchase of Liberty Lot. The environmental is in progress on that. That's the 10517 Main Street. That's like corner lot, Bridge Street and Main Street. Although we're waiting for the environmental, they've done their tests out there. They're the actual tests and samples with the labs right now. Preparing that phase 2 study for us. Once you get that report, we will presumably moving on to or just continue the closing unless something particular comes up in that report about the environmental issue. By this point, we don't see any reason to believe there'll be anything particularly extreme like that. Development of Brockton Road, Willowbrook Road, that was a request on that. We don't have any update on that since our last board meeting. This is the one where there was a potential for a Starbucks with First Midwest Group. We haven't had a withdrawal from First Midwest Group. We haven't had any sort of additional information from them. They are aware of the position of the board. They got the review comments back. We haven't had any revised plans from them. Did receive a inquiry on for the building permit. The county received a building permit for them. And we're asked about that review, but other than that, it's something else. Still pending.
They haven't said no yet.
They haven't said no yet. They haven't changed their applications, withdrawn applications from either the county or the village. So that's just pending. And subdivision signs, that was a request on that. So those will be, we'll work on those, those are the entrance signs, we'll get those going this month. Get some designs, I got a place we're gonna work with to get the designs and the samples for those, so those are just.
So,
Ongoing.
Joe, are they, we're targeting Chicory Ridge, right? I mean,
Chicory Ridge and Hawks, or Hawks Point.
so do we have to contact the people in the easement there and we talk to the folks that, where
We haven't, you know, I've been, we've got some initial discussions with, I think at Hawks Point, I think we got the contact information for Chicory, for
Yeah,
the one.
I've tried to talk to the people at Chicory.
Yeah, so we'll get those sent out more and we'll get those released for the. How we're gonna do them, either easements or license, we'll get that formal document going on that.
Probably need a formal letter
Yeah.
sent to them. to
Yeah,
either
we'll start working on
protect
this,
me or the
this
village.
month here in June, we'll start getting those going now. Yeah, so I think 3 signs looking at right now.
Is there any update on the mural? Just since we're on your old business,
On the mural?
Yeah.
What about it?
have we made any progress with trying to contact Masons about?
That's a discussion for you guys to have, you wanna have the discussion, under the business, you can have discussion, That's a discussion to have, I mean, I haven't contacted them to remove anything, it's our mural and it's not our thing, but.
There has
That's
been,
up to you guys.
there has been contact made with the owners of the building and passing out a petition that they signed.
They signed it as well. That's our Masons.
All those are Masons on that. I went to the meeting for first 5 minutes and then they booted me out of the building. I'm not an official Mason.
You didn't have the,
They are all in favor of removal of that.
Or something else being.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we talking about this one right down here?
Yeah.
The one that was brought up earlier, just
I guess if we could move forward with.
I guess what, I mean, what would you like to do? First of all, it's not our building, so we didn't pay for it, we didn't install it, we donated money to the Rockford Arts Council, who then reached out down there. I mean, if they come in, we have a request from the owners for assistance, is that what we're looking for, I guess?
well, how did
I
the
think this
process,
seems like a bad.
how did it work before that, the mural got put up?
So, Create 1.5 is the Rockford Art Council program to put up murals throughout the region. So in 2022, Village approached them to work with a mural. It was a $30,000 donation that the village made as part of that. To Create 1.5, they went out then, they selected artists as part of they had a whole jury process to select artists. And to gauge that artist, to put them in contact with the owners of the building, the Masons, the owners of that building. And then they worked out that agreement with them to actually have the artist come in and put the mural on the building. So that was in 2022 that we did that. I guess, not my opinion, I guess, on the art of it, but it's art in our downtown area. It was part of for the initial kickoff of the downtown project.
Yeah.
We've been putting a lot into downtown, Main Street. That was probably the first major, part of that project.
Was it reviewed and voted on as far as what the mural was gonna be?
I think we saw some different options. I think the board saw different options of it and ended up choosing that artist. We had 3 or 4 different options on that. We chose, or the board chose that particular artist and that style. And that's
this board chose it.
no,
the village board,
that's
that's
that. No.
2022.
2022, that's.
Cause I'm having a hard time finding anybody that likes it.
Say, I'm not gonna comment on the art. I mean,
Well-
that's, I guess that's the thing, right? It's art is subjective, right? So that was an art project that the village put forward to bring in as an initial mural.
Have we found anybody who likes it?
No.
Mr. Brown definitely does not like it, we've heard, yes.
Yeah, it's
Um,
good to see a petition.
Yeah.
12,000 residents in the area, so maybe we've heard from 25 to 35 who don't like it. But we've not done a formal.
And the owners of the buildings seem to not like it.
Changed. That's the only folks I went to. Let's start
I mean,
there.
that's a pretty good start.
I would like to move that we put it on the committee of the whole for next meeting. Where we invite the community, the village administrator puts it on social media, on Nextdoor, on Facebook. Getting folks' opinion, Mr. Brock, you get people to come in. Vote yea or nay, what they think on it, so go through the process, of public opinion, what the constituents want in the village of Nebraska, and, we'll take their input and move forward.
Cause if we end up going with something, or something else happens with it, we'll definitely have to get the public's opinion. Hopefully
I think
that's,
the first ask is, we're not creating a new mural. Do you want this mural or not? If you don't want this mural, or you want it, come either way, but if it's voted by the majority of the residents that they don't want it, then we will whitewash it, and then we'll start the process of seeing what we can do from here.
What is the owner want? I mean, the owner of the building.
The owners of the building are the Masons, they are, it's not appealing to them. They
But
would like,
they own it.
they would like to see something else.
Why are we involved, I guess? Maybe I missed that point. Why is the building involved?
Initially, I don't know how it started. I don't know if they were given permission or how that was granted to use their building, but no, we don't have, they would have to tell us to get rid of it, but they're not gonna,
Own or something.
they're not gonna split the bill.
We're gonna use village funds for it, that's the question.
Right.
That's the question.
Did we use village funds?
Yes.
Yeah, we donated, what portion? Yeah, we donated to the,
How much did we donate?
it was $30,000 to.
$30,000.
Yeah,
And maybe we could get
Yeah,
volunteers,
but-
I mean, we could get community volunteers, we don't know,
I bet we could get some high school artists to do better.
Historically,
of the-
though, when this began, the $30,000 was to be a division between the village of Roscoe and donors. There were 3 families that stepped up at the time saying that they would make a $5,000 donation and with the naming rights on it. But perhaps once they saw it, they backed off. But we never collected, so it was.
I talked to one of them, they don't remember paying the sponsor fee or whatever y'all called it.
Right, neither one of the 3 groups who had pledged did that. So the question becomes, as trustee Babcock indicated, what is it that the village can do on private property?
But it's certainly an opportunity to get everybody else involved and get an opinion now, because we got something that they can, if they know it's out, they're gonna definitely share their opinion, I think.
well, maybe the bases would come to the board meeting as well.
Yeah,
I don't care, and, we can work as a community.
Mike, if we were to put a date on that petition, was it last week?
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago. I would have to put a date. I can get a new one and I don't have this one notarized as well. So I think
We could
that
just
should have
say,
been
you
done,
could just say April
certainly. Yes,
of 25.
yes. But I can get another one and talk to them about attending. I can get another edition and notarize that to make it 50. I don't know how we need how we seek their permission to.
I mean, they're gonna have to do it. I mean, we're not going to,
There's no need to notarize.
yeah. We're not gonna
You
do
get a
it.
petition, you get a petition,
Okay.
it's not
I just want to
official
make,
document being filed with the state.
I just wanted to make it official
It's
first.
just, I mean, is it their property now? If they wanted to whitewash it now themselves, they could do it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And we couldn't, unless.
The agreement they have with
Front,
the,
front.
yeah, and the agreement they have with the Arts Council, they are allowed to remove it. There's not a length of time that they have to have down there.
so it looks like we need their input, what they wanna do.
Well, then also the funding, right? I mean, this.
Right, we want to spend, we have, obviously, we budgeted that as part of the budget, but do we want to spend, whatever $1,000?
Sherwin-Williams and ask them to put their name on it. They're
You know,
covering their.
I would guess it would cost a lot less than $30,000.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, 10 gallons of paint, you're gonna get that done. I mean, Dustin and I go out there, you get the loader.
They need to come to us as with an official document, need their official.
Well, they're gonna have to, yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to be the ones to say,
What do I
village,
need?
hey, donate to us, we want, or give us money to paint over our building, paint our building.
Do we,
I would say it's more problematic if we go on their property and do it.
right,
Than us saying we'll put in $5,000 or some number that would allow it to be painted over, but we ask them to just hire somebody to do it. I mean, I don't want to, you don't want to expose the village to liability for being on their property for doing this. It's their property, it's their mural. If they don't like it, they can hire a painter to come out and just paint over it.
I mean, this goes back to the science project we were talking about here. You have science project for the HOA for grants and stuff like that, where, you know, sort of similar to that, where we're giving, we haven't started budgeted for this, right? So I think that your opinion is right. I mean, we see if they wanted to donate the money so they can have,
do we want control of that, the picture that goes up? Do we want to conduct a, you know,
Well, that, to me, that's step two. I mean, step one is get a clean slate.
Yep.
And then, do you want to engage the Arts Council again or somebody to propose?
they will not
a new-
partake in that?
I would guess not.
Do you want a blank slate forever?
well, maybe village, village residents.
They can't, we're painting over one of their, they will not engage us.
Just, if it's their building, can they just put whatever they want on it? What if it was something, I mean, yeah.
There are limits to whatever you want.
Anything.
It can't be graphic, it can't be offensive. I mean, there are
Sign
rules,
ordinances.
landscape and flowers. But
Just being here during that time, the renderings were a lot better than the outcome was, that would be seen. And I will say it was a mistake to go for the. On my,
I know the Rock River is green, but they could have at least made it blue.
well, that's the problem, is it's not the Rock River.
What if they want to refrank question?
What river is it?
It's all Pecatonic to the village.
That's crazy.
What they told me is, you guys go ahead, please cover it, please do it, can we at least see something that you're gonna put up there? They're pretty much relinquishing all rights to us taking care of it, doing it.
I'm sure. Come in.
All they asked for was, can we please have input? At this time,
you'd want to have some level of a document that is a release, a hold harmless, that if something were to happen while our contractor, our people are on site, they agree they won't come back on the
Right.
village.
did we do that prior to?
But we weren't involved because it was the Arts Council.
Arts Council.
Arts Council
has
did it?
agreement with them.
Okay, I'll tell them.
So what actionable item can we have? So we move this thing along and have it on the fence. I guess the first step, Mr. Green, is like to have a whitewash, right, to get the Masons approval to do that.
Well, the public input is what.
Yeah, so that would be, just have public input, do you want it whitewashed or not, right, so vote. First thing, right,
And invite the Masons to have.
I can do that.
okay, alright,
Public and Masons. and-
Yeah, I think someone in the public's gonna have some opinions about that.
I know one.
At least we have one. you know?
There's more than me in the.
Oh, they're definitely.
get your friends to come,
I got two of them.
get more.
Okay.
Thanks, friends.
Motion to pass this to the next meeting or no? Very good. Great. New business number 4, discussion. Sorry, I'm gonna probably butcher this name. Discussion and recommendation of approving of Legion Access Technologies LLC, Stanley Access Technologies for the quoted amount of $8,048 for the installation of the ADA automatic door openers in front here at Village Hall. Discussion, questions?
Yeah, came in one day and a lady was with her walker. I presume she was at the DMV and I had to hold the door for her and it just kind of thought that would already been something we would have had put in place, but
So this has been on our budget for a year now or two. Those are ADA doors. They are ADA compliant currently. But the issue's always been, and we've seen this as staff here more and more, we've seen, especially the more people coming to the DMV, it is difficult for people to pull those doors open a lot of times. So we've been working on getting that, I think for a few years now, actually, but so this year we had it, actually it was interesting, yeah, the time you had on there, because we already had, we had the codes ready, and Troy had those already set up there, so we got those on. It was just finding the right provider, that was the issue we've been having. I think earlier this spring too, we were having some issues trying to find someone to actually do it, but Stanley Access Technologies, Legion, they're the ones who also do the police department doors. They actually do the police department same doors. So the plan is to do the same exact opener as the PD has on their building, but we'll sort of match them up. So if those are,
So I had a question, wasn't it before, because I know the budget was a lot more expensive before, why is it such a?
It seemed like it was $30,000.
25,
I remember the.
25,000.
15,000 actually behind the budget. Yeah, it was for,
One quote that we had to put in the budget was for 13,000.
yeah,
So
that's why it was higher.
15 is.
I remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if Carol remembers this too. Several years ago, we didn't do it for some reason, I want to say it was like a quote of 30 to 40,000
Really,
dollars.
I was trying to find,
Yeah,
and the issue we've had before was having a company to come down and do it. It was trying to find a local
There was
company.
only one,
Actually-
a door lock.
Yep.
Company a couple years ago, so.
I think we should get the DMV to chip in since we.
No, good luck.
It don't know.
they don't.
It budget's passed and all.
I'm
It's not
supposed to know.
I think we just paid Dane to come up here.
So this is budgeted for, right? We have.
Building and repairs.
Right, so, and it's a substantial discount or, you know.
Compared to what it was.
Than what it was before, so I guess maybe it's.
Yeah.
Revisiting things and getting quotes and, you know, you get, at certain times you can get something that could be twice as much and there's economic forces, so I think that I move forward that we'd, move forward with this.
I have a question about the mechanics of that. Troy, both doors will open at the same time? The inner and the outer,
Left side, yes,
the whole left side?
Yep.
Okay,
or the right side.
or whichever side they choose.
Well, they-
And so the push button, I know there had been some conversation about where to put that before. Was it going to be outside? Can it be mounted? Where would-
There's, the one push button will be on the wall, which they're remote, they're Wi-Fi, so we can pick either wall, probably left side, since it's gonna be on the left side. And then on the outside, I think the regulation has to be 4 feet away from the building and it's a little ballard. We'll have the push button on the ballard.
You kept saying it's kind of like the one at Chase Bank. That they have outdoors.
I haven't seen.
Oh.
What happens for the, in between the doors? Coming in, where would the button be for that?
No, they both, when you hit they're on the time delay,
Both open
like the
at the
first
same
one
time.
will open and then like
Okay.
2 seconds later than the second ones.
Okay, so they're both open. It won't be like going to the store and you have to hit 3 buttons.
No, they're both open at the same time.
All right.
good luck inside.
I know this is extreme, maybe not. The system has an automatic timer so that, you know, there's enough passage time for someone using a walker or whatever. Can that timing be adjusted or is it ADA set to a,
I'm sure it's the
I think
same.
I was
price,
thinking.
that we can Just that, and then different times of when, our building, like our door locks. So if someone hits it when they walk by, it won't try to open and burn itself out.
Make a motion that we send it to the board.
Second,
Okay, motion by trustee Block, second by Mike Simon, vote please.
Sorry, blocking, Simon,
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Mead,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Bright,
Yes,
Rhoda,
yes,
Simon,
yes.
Babcock.
But Dane, you can add this to your campaign, when first thing you gotta.
number 5, discussion and recommendation of amending section 13-355 of the Village of Roscoe Code ordinances to require tall grass and weeds to be cut prior to reaching a height of 8 inches. Currently, ordinance says 12 inches. Discussion questions.
Motion.
Motion pass. Trustee Babcock, second.
Second,
Trustee Simon on the second. Vote please.
Black,
Yes.
Rhoda,
yes,
Babcock,
Yes.
Mead,
Yes.
Simon,
yes.
right.
Yes. Number 6, discussion and recommendation of an amendment to the village's liquor code classifying a requirement for a license holder to maintain order within a licensed establishment. Anyone shed light on this?
Yes. So our liquor code needs some fine tuning. And one omission within that is some clear language that requires owners of various establishments to do due diligence in maintaining a environment that is holistic or mitigates what might be confrontations. And then secondly, we want them to call the police department if something happens. There was no language within the code to require that reporting. Most places were compliant, but sometimes after the fact, a day or so later, people would come into the police department to report that there had been an incident. So we need language to encourage our establishments to report when they need to report, and also general language clearly identifying that it is their responsibility to maintain premises that are safe for everyone. Now, I want to emphasize, this has not been a rampant problem. We have the majority of establishments do a good job in doing this, but there was this, for lack of a better term, loophole. And so you're being asked tonight to have this type of language to update the liquor code.
I think this is pretty subjective. I'd like some examples of, what we're talking about. I'd like to get some feedback from the police chief. If this is something that would potentially be punitive to certain businesses, or, is there a specific incident that's raising this? Is there a true need for it? Is it gonna, impact businesses in Roscoe adversely?
In some cases, it's, what should we say, undesirable to provide all of the details in this type of forum because there hasn't been a particular hearing or adjudication. But there have been examples of businesses that either did not have up-to-date camera systems as they required to have, or to have their camera systems over the gaming machines where they did not have them. Or examples of businesses that had, what do they call it? They had banned certain employees for past indiscretion. And then new employees allowed such banned persons on the premises. And then there were altercations. So there were a number of incidences such as that.
So everybody know how the process actually works with the commission now, the new trustees, like. Okay, just explain how the process is even.
Yeah, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, so I mean, we get reports through the police department, altercation and whatever it might be at these establishments, and whether they're reported later or not. Once we get the reports, I take the reports and I pass them along to the liquor commission. And basically what this is, just a little bit more, I guess, teeth for the liquor commission to be able to take action against an establishment. So I mean, basically, we take the report and then pass it along to the liquor commission, and then we're kind of wash our hands of it besides the investigation part of it. As far as the cameras, that just helps on the village's side, because also the state requires on all these establishments, I mean, the ones that you're talking about, they all pretty much have gaming machines. And state regulations is that they have to have gaming machines, so we also turn it over to the gaming board. And they come in and do investigations, they can find them and shut them down or do whatever they want to do because they don't have active cameras. And there's been establishments throughout the last year or two that has been a consistent type of a thing. Gaming board really hasn't done anything with it, so I mean, this gives a little bit more power to the village president and to the liquor commission to actually do something with it and the treasury.
Yeah, and if I might, when the mayor initially asked me about, can we you know, for something in the liquor code to require the bar owners to maintain order in the licensed premises. I was honestly a little surprised that it wasn't in there already. It's very common. Most liquor codes require a bar owner to maintain order within the establishment. And what you're talking about is an assault or a battery, which are very much related. An assault is, I'm gonna punch you in the nose. That's an assault. The battery is actually doing it. Okay, so physical contact is a battery, assault is making threats. You know, I don't know how many of you worked in a bar, but I worked in a bar in college. I could see this kind of stuff coming a mile away, and you have to step in and stop it if you want to maintain a
So currently, if there's an assault or a battery in a bar, in a liquor establishment in Roscoe, it's registered with the police. You're saying Lisa, liquor commissioner board have no recourse to do anything with it?
quite the opposite. Well, not right now. I mean, they violate the law.
Yeah, I'm saying-
If they violate the law, that's a violation of our rules in the liquor code, so you can't violate the law. But what I think was happening was nobody was even filing a report. So whoever committed the assault or committed the battery wasn't being identified, there wasn't cooperation with the police department, and they wouldn't find out till a day or two later when the victim would come in and say, hey, I got, you know, assaulted or, you know, battered in a bar, and then you contact the bar owner and like, well, I don't know, whatever, but clearly someone was there, someone witnessed it. The bartenders, the people on site who were responsible, if they see a battery, should contact the police and have the person who did it charged.
Especially after it's been a few days, I mean.
That's
sometimes-
appropriate conduct.
Right.
Sometimes. it-
And it helps avoid establishing having establishments where people know they can go and get a little crazier than they can in other bars. You know, you don't want a place like, I don't know, it's very common and I've seen it in many communities.
So it formalizes a rule that should be.
Should have been there.
Can we-
Hello.
Can we hold this over till we actually see the language and amendment and what it look like and what it currently looks like?
It's a document. It's in there.
The ordinance is in there, so.
It's in there.
It's an amendment to chapter 114. I have added a section 11-410. And it's 6 paragraphs, 7 paragraphs that first they have to have appropriate personnel, second, you have to maintain the order, third, the premises includes both the bar, the kitchen, the bathroom. If you have a patio where there's people consuming alcohol, even the parking lot, you need to do your best to maintain order. And then requirement to report. If there is an incident in your bar, you're under an affirmative obligation to call the police.
So if we go ahead with this language, then somebody, I mean, do we have to go and make them aware of it? Or,
I don't think you have to use a concerted effort to make them aware of it, but.
What generally happens is if there is an issue or a problem, the police department investigates. And then I invite the owner in, and as liquor commissioner, sit down and discuss what, if it's a one-on, discuss the problem, identify remediation. And as I said at the outset, 99% of the time, these establishments want to comply because they want safe and orderly businesses as well. So it is handled in that particular manner because it is not egregious and it is not a continuation. Whereas if we have language here and we have repetition, then we have something in addition to come to the full liquor board and say, here is an example of a particular establishment that has done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And there would be a recommendation to have something punitive because the informal change, do this, remediation, so on and so forth has failed. So now we are going to become draconian. So it is progressive discipline, if you want to use that term.
I just don't know why, if there's this, I'm not aware of this incident coming up repeatedly, if, you know, to me, if there's,
Because it hasn't been.
well, then things are good right now, right?
There was this omission, shall we say, and so we need language to assure that there is reporting as opposed to the subjective behavior of the owner. Well, maybe I'll report this as incident or maybe I will not. And if it's not reported, as Attorney Green said, Chief indicated 2 days later or something, a victim will come into the police department and say, hey, something happened at this bar a couple of days ago. And that's the first we hear of it. Whereas it should have been those people on premises, whether it was the manager, whoever's in charge at that time, should have, as Attorney Green said, recognized that this train wreck was about to happen on the road so that there was some addiction at that time.
And Mayor, if I'm speaking out of turn, stop me, but there have been incidents.
Yeah.
There have been a pattern of incidents in some
In
some bars.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna go into detail on that. But this gives some enforcement, and certainly do not advocate one incident, come down hard on somebody. I mean, one incident, you say, hey, try not to let that happen again. 2 incidents, hey, you gotta try even harder. You get to 3 or 4, and it's like, look, you're not doing it. You're not controlling the environment. You may have to convene a liquor commission hearing, and then you, as the liquor commission, could decide. You can fine somebody of $500, you can
suspend.
close them for one night, you can do
I
whatever
would
you
add,
want.
I would add some of this, maybe it's being overlooked. As a customer. If I'm a customer in any one of these places, I would definitely want this language in there to know that if somebody assaulted me or a battery, that there would be action taken. God forbid there isn't any of that, but as if you approach any customer in any establishment, I bet they would all agree with this. From a customer standpoint, that, hey, there needs to be rules that I'm gonna go someplace, take my family, my kids, and it's gonna be safe. And if it's not safe, at least the liquor commission can take action.
So reading it, it says they had within 2 business days to report.
Well, up above, it says they're to report immediately.
It
It
says
says-
reporting incident where business days.
Paragraph above that, I believe, says they have an obligation to report me. Paragraph 5. The liquor license holder, agent, employee who observes any criminal activity or fighting as defined above is required to immediately notify the police department.
But they still have 2 business days of not immediately. They still have to be.
Well, I think we've got it covered both ways. If they don't immediately do it, they're violating paragraph 5. If they don't ultimately report it, they're violating both paragraph 5 and paragraph 6.
And does this assist you guys in any fashion or form?
Immediately notifying does help us, like if the business does not have video, which they're required to have. It does help us, like if you have the victim there, the suspect there, and some of us, like sometimes work with some of the business owners as well. Find a bad rep or anything like that, or they know these people, they're great customers. Sometimes some establishments are less than forthgoing, like sometimes their video was working that time, sometimes it wasn't. It's helpful for us to respond to the scene, have everybody there and just address it as it comes up. That way we know who the suspect is, not trying to find days later. Watch all this video, try to identify somebody in the picture. Because I don't know who that person is in the picture, I mean, cameras are great, but it just shows somewhat, I don't know. The tens of thousands of people that are in the area. I have no clue who that is, so I'm trying to actually put this with my name with that picture and stuff, so it does help us immensely, and then it does help liquor commission to actually put a little more teeth into being able to control, say, hey, this is your requirements, so yes, and that's.
I think that's the issue I came up with, was that if there's something for liquor commission, right, you're the ones who can make those penalties out there. Right now, minor drinking, yep, absolutely, it's minor drinking, you're bringing them in, if this person's a minor, we saw them drink, you served them, they're there. Over service, a little more on the edge, but we watch you serve this person over and over and over again. Our code currently says can't over serve somebody, right, to get fully drink, whatever, you watch them, you watch the person on the video, or you talk to the people, they serve. This is that sort of in between that missing piece here. You got somebody where, you see them coming in. I don't know, presumably you've been trained and you presumably got experience at the bar. You see this person's gonna be trouble, you see this person's causing issues. This, as it happens over and over again multiple times, eventually you say, okay, what can we do to enforce it and say, okay, if you see somebody coming in who maybe you've banned before or you've stopped before, coming in to cause trouble, cause problems. You know, we're gonna hold the good holder, the licensee responsible for that. That's what this allows us to do. Or you
And
guys-
we've had many, not to get details on any of the cases, but we have had many instances where it was clearly from the time that they walked in the door, this was not gonna.
Yeah. And this says,
It's like, why would you let them?
Yeah. and right now, we don't have a liquor license recourse on it, right? So that's what this is.
Does this cover more just like true emergencies or?
I'd say anytime there's probably a crime or a disorderly type
Yeah.
of incident, I mean, that's.
Not somebody just being loud obnoxious.
No, and these are rules, I mean, they don't apply to police.
Yeah, they're not police
We're doing our
These
investigation.
are the ones that.
I just don't want-
If later on, you know, if we didn't get what we needed or anything else, all that goes to liquor commission. They're the ones that, you know, I mean, we have no control over the bar owner or anybody else. I mean, we deal with the victim and the suspect. That's it.
But
That's why this deals with.
not against the law to be like
not.
I understand that, I just don't want 911 being called by every little thing happening.
No, that's up to you guys.
I will say loud and obnoxious sometimes is a precursor to
Right.
the next.
Giving some a space and
Should
making
we
it.
put in like our non-emergency number, just state if you have a
Well, this is
emergency?
different than the criminal stuff. If there's an emergency, they're calling 911, we let
Yes,
them
I
do it,
understand.
right? This is more the other portion of it after the fact. Okay, we see this continues, we see. As we're doing our investigation, your investigation, for liquor commission, and you see somebody coming in and they're.
Businesses do not like to call the police because they know that later on, they're gonna have to answer to the liquor commission. So they rather never call the police because it, you know, they have to control the environment. This allows liquor, to say, hey, you do need to control your environment.
So this for establishments probably they have more repeat issues, and this gives us a tool to deal with.
Yeah, this all deal with the, I mean, we have our investigation, we handed over. So you guys were done, we our investigation. Liquor commission allows you to.
Properly trained off more problem. Properly trained staff will stop this every time.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
Acid trained and properly trained, so this wouldn't be a problem.
Do we require them to have cameras or is that a state thing? Or-
I don't think it's in our ordinance right now, I mean, how, well.
Gaming is
Yeah,
required.
gaming, the Illinois State Gaming Commission, but I don't think we have any ordinances or anything that says that they have to have cameras, I mean, that would be another thing, if you wanted to add to it, like, no, I mean, if you wanted to have that ordinance, like,
I think.
any liquor establishment needs cameras, that'd be great. And then when they don't have them, once again, I'll give the report to the liquor commission, you guys will see this have cameras. And then you will come forward and link whatever your decision is for that kind of a.
I want you against cameras.
Yeah, I could too. It's a couple of
I
burdens.
don't want to be sitting at a bar with a camera up there watching. I just don't.
I think even at Bergen, you know, we've had ones where the cameras are out, the cameras are broken, they're not working. Things
Is there
get
a
get to
thing
a
we could
tricky-
do, like, you need to have a camera at the front door, covering your front door, or
Yeah, see, it's just-
exits, entrance.
I would refer to.
This is the
Village
first
attorney.
step, though, this one.
Motion to send.
Motion to the board,
Second,
Justin Plot, motion. Second, William Babcock, vote. Please.
Right,
Yes.
Rhoda,
yes,
Reed,
Yes,
Simon,
Yes.
Babcock,
yes.
Yes.
Okay, number 7, discussion and recommendation of bid specifications for the Hodges Run Small Business Incubator Site.
This. Since we're pretty much at the final engineering's done, design's done. Lighting's done, portion of this. So we've got the plans I'm gonna put up, and you've got copies in your packets.
Can I just ask, do we have an idea of how much this is all gonna cost now that we don't have visuals that will be able to build your home?
It's always, the budget number we've always given you, it's always been based assuming that. They're not, that we're gonna do it all. And that even
I just wanna
including,
make sure we have. the-
even including, I should say, building the framing that we had on there, so it'll be cheaper, it'll be less than our. Amount on that, But it's always been based on. OS.
Six here.
Okay, yeah. Then we'll know, we'll get a better, once we do this. So this is the. Okay, it looks very, very similar to the initial plans that about a year, last November or so, when we got that sort of final. Hiring place foundry, I'll give you like an overview here, but these are a lot more details on here, and this is a sort of combined plan, so it's got all of the layers sort of attached together, so you can see everything at once, not split up the portions of it. So for those people who are looking or from the public, this is Hodges Run, intersection Hodges Run and Main Street. The main location is south of our marker here. So this is the areas here are the incubators, the pop-up incubators we have are 12 by 12 or so locations. They'll be surrounding the central plaza in the center of the square. The plaza has always been sort of, and this is discussion we sort of had, I know we've had some discussion back and forth about this, but this was always initially set to not just be its own separate thing, it's really to try to grow Main Street. So we have Main Street Square across the street from here, our new Main Street plan, which eventually will come in, we'll redo our roads and sort of expand out, do the walking paths there. That is all part of this concept. So this will draw people in, Central Plaza, surrounded by the pop-up incubators. So that's the main portion of it. There's a lot of different areas in here we sort of talked about, and our architect is putting what areas of sort of interest to make this really a 12-month, full year area that can be used. I don't want to get into this, but the incubators will probably or the plan for the incubators will be probably from spring, March-ish or so through December until it gets really, really cold. They will have the heating and air conditioning in them. We'll have a split unit on there. When the heat pumps, each of those will have one of those, so they'll have heat and cooling in them. They will not have water running to them, and they will not have sewer to each of those. And that's what we showed last time. The public bathroom area. This is questions that come up before. The public bathroom station is designed to have a restroom area, so public restrooms will be here on it, and they also will have a work room in the back of it. So it'll be a small sort of half of that restroom building will also be a workspace for the people who have those incubators. Trying to make this like an actual business, let you actually sort of jumpstart your business, incubate your small business here. This area will have sort of a break room area. It will have the running water. It will have the utilities there, as well as the sinks, sewer connections, all that. So that will be this back area. We'll have fridges for the employees, right? Place for the employees to actually go take their break. That's that back location. And again, the front location is public bathrooms. In the front of that building, which should be open to the public. We do have them set up where they can be sort of shut down for part of the year while keeping one open for the staff members, I guess I call them the renters. Or you go have one and we can actually shut down the rest of them if we need to throughout the year. So we made it's very flexible on how it can be used.
Are there 4 bathrooms?
There are 4, correct?
So we
Yep.
need 4.
So that was the question. Initially, when we were talking about it, that's what we're looking at, right? So we're trying to figure out is the estimated use of that. There's the formula they put together for this. It's actually a health department as much as it's just like design, like a sort of design standard about how many people are going to be there versus how many restrooms you need throughout that. So that's what the report became on there. It was just based on what we thought the occupancy would be. We got the 12 pop-ups, make any sort of public events there throughout the year, having those bathroom areas accessible to not just the public, but also to employees at those pop-ups.
Is that something that could potentially add on to a bathroom. I mean, you could
Add more.
also put a work body next to it if
Yeah.
you needed it.
Yep.
Right, you know, we just have no idea what's gonna be.
What was the reason for doing individual bathrooms versus
That's
just?
what I'm asking.
Oh, the
Sorry.
individuals, so those would be,
Absolutely.
yeah, as opposed to one, we asked, is the cost the same on those roughly, but it's having the ADA compliant restrooms and stalls and having them all sort of separately accessible. So having the 4 individual stalls or units.
How the sizes
wall
compare to these? How did the sizes of these bathrooms compare to those?
They're probably very similar, they're ADA designed for the wheelchair and the turnaround, so not any bigger than those, so they're probably very similar, if not slightly bigger than that, but pretty much they're the same size as wheelchair.
So they should accommodate family.
Yeah.
That's what I guess that's what Justin is asking is if we just do one with an an ADA stall, 2 other stalls, and then some urinals, and make it a little bit bigger instead of piping another whole bathroom.
I think you're ending up with the same,
Is it-
when we're talking, I think it's the same cost roughly, when we end up talking through it.
Yeah. I would say even maybe more expensive to do individual bathrooms between, because you'd have to plumb water and sewer for each individual location. This, you're gonna have likely, one water service, one sewer service.
Or something you're asking them, or,
So
I think they're asking. he's
we're asking, instead of 2 separate in piping and some decking or, stainless steel, whatever we're gonna use, is it more cost savings to make one larger, a little bit larger with a?
More than one stall.
Correct.
I think that's gonna be negligible, because
It's
they're gonna
the wall.
be, the wall
That's all
in
your-
between is gonna add your costs compared to the savings
Yeah.
that you're gonna have in the piping. And I just generally think it's a good idea to have separate bathrooms for people in case multiple families need to use it at once. You're not worried about multiple families going into one.
And I guess also too, I mean, while we're doing is children's activities, the design, the front half of this is pop-up incubators, the back half is the sort of low impact play areas. So we can look at that in a second, but so it's going to be for families, a lot of families will be there. So it's the intention.
This is heated and cooled too, the whole building.
This will be heated, yeah, yeah. The big thing, I think, we talk about expense, I mean, the expense part is gonna be the back half, right? That's, you're adding expense versus a regular bathroom into into this, it's having that break area. But just based, I mean, we talked to Batavia, based on how what this is gonna be used for, having this as, treating it as an actual, work area, having that break area, having that, a fridge for the people, having, running water where they can sit, have a break or have a, coffee or whatever with it. Having that actual workspace is what we,
It could also
Alright.
serve as a staging area. If there
Yeah.
were going to be a community event, extension of Hometown Holiday, for
Yeah.
example, down in that area.
that's always an issue we've had with, we've got the porta potties, right? We had the issue with our pop-up, our little huts we have. We've got those pump stations in there, but having, that's a health department issue, but having an actual running water service where it's a separate, hot water, running water area. That is, that's the mindset of it, so not so much the bathroom portion of it for cost, but that will add more cost to it, but that's, I think if we're really trying to make this work and be successful. That's sort of what the idea was for that.
Part of this bid, what exactly are we looking to do? I see the 3 bullet points, but it doesn't mention like the parking lot, and stuff like that, so.
So this is just, I guess it's really right now it's getting this sort of a. Sure, go ahead, get comments if there's feedback on this. The bid specifications for, there's parking lot on here. That part that's designing everything, everything's been designed on it. Actually, Brogan's kind of, trustee Brogan, I do see your hand up before, so I will call on you in a second, sorry, or defer to trustee Wright to call on you. But the parking lot is designed as part of this. So that's all there. Like I said, this is the overview. There's the full specifications are ready. They're set with this. So if there's, obviously want to get any sort of feedback on this, there's issues on
I'm
it,
just trying
changes
to
on
ask
this.
what exactly we're putting in. it, so it'd be the parking lot.
It'd be the parking lot, so the
building
phase,
Structures,
yes,
the little.
yep.
Not to the walkway.
So it would be pretty much the front area here, is what we're talking about. So it'd be the pavilion or the Miller Plaza, it'd be the huts, it'd be the parking lot, the restroom building, and then the water line in the front area,
So about half.
about half of it, yeah.
Are we looking to improve the road right there where the parking is?
In the front, yes. So that would,
Park too.
yes, that's.
We'll actually have a nice section.
And that was, and probably Brandon can probably address that too, but that was one of the longer parts of this whole project was getting that figured out because of the grades. Because there's a really big difference in grade.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So as part of our Main Street reconstruction project that Fair Graham is currently designing, we have to actually change the roadway profile. We have to drop that road about a foot in that specific area. And so we looked at our design, R.K. Johnson, the design engineer for Place Foundry, compared our design to what we want to put in here. Ultimately, we have to construct, we need parking in front, obviously. There's not a way currently because the roadway profile has to change when Main Street does eventually get fully reconstructed to build that, to not have to redo some of the parking and some of the curb work and things like that. So it will ultimately, when Main Street gets reconstructed, that will have to be ripped up and reconstructed. But for the interim, we need parking, and that was extensively looked at and trying to find some type of interim solution that works with both the future planning and the current plans, but that wasn't.
Yeah, even the connection, yeah, with the.
Is it going to have?
The curb there.
Yeah, we will have curb to delineate where the edge of the parking is compared to, to the parkway, which is in between the sidewalk and the curb.
Yeah, that was a big part that Brandon and, or Bear Graham and Brandon and then, R.K. Johnson were working through on this. A lot of work with that. Wire line will be, sorry. Keep slipping. The wire will be installed. There's a wire line that goes through here, in the center portion of it. There will be a wire line that comes all the way out from, actually it's all based around that, bathroom areas where the wire connection is, but it will come out throughout to pretty much to the end where the parking lot is, where the dumpster enclosure is, in this lower area of the parking lot. So there'll be wire connection through there, that will be used. Also part of the phase one portion of it will be the back property line. And will be very detailed, call outs for all the different trees and the buffers. So this is they worked very hard to make it compliant with our zoning code. So we're holding ourselves the same standard as we're holding the rest of the public to. Types of trees, types of plantings, the berm is in the back, and then that buffer, because it's a residential zoning behind it, there's some additional requirements that we impose on ourselves and on the residents to make sure there's that buffer between commercial and between the residential. And that was something too that was brought up in those planning sessions when the residents of Hutchins Run came in. So that's why you see the sort of an intensive buffering planting area in the back.
Continuing fence line.
Yes, and the fence is already going to, yeah, there's already a fence behind there, so they've sort of incorporated that into there, so that fence will be double fence. There'll be the fence where there's already a fence, and then we'll have our fence, there's a small portion that doesn't have one that we would continue on to make sure it is addition in the back.
So the walking path at back won't be done.
So
Part
the
of it.
walking path in the back is part of the phase two, so the front, there's a path here that sort of hooks in, a path here. That is the phase one sort of portion. That's sort of the delineation of where the first half would be before we pick out playground play area in the back. And that's what that back path will likely have.
So which part, front, you're gonna.
Sorry, there's there's
It goes to restroom.
this right here is the back path.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
That's.
So there's a sidewalk there. This is concrete, yeah, yeah. And then I think the plan would be for this back part to be like a mulch or a packed, earth type thing, a little more rugged. Be the back area, we do that. Also, if you look, sort of look closer, and it's sort of hard to see from on the view here, but if you look, if you look at the actual plans themselves, the public has access to this as well. On the website, board packet. there's a lot of specific areas where we've got orchard plantings over in this side of, on the. My colors are here, but you have orchard area here. We've got a lot of, sort of fruit plants and, grape trellis, I think was on this area, on this part. We've got the nuts trees over here. So they designed it really to make it year round and really to be sort of a educational and as part of the, usable area throughout the year. The center portion,
We're gonna get killed.
they'll eventually will have fruit there as part of it. Working with the garden club, the center portion here is have, the garden, some spots with the garden club to be able to, work on some planting children's gardens, children plantings. I'm really trying to encourage that, so.
Maple harvest,
It's what?
maple syrup harvest.
Yes, maple syrup. We got maple trees in the back here too. So, that's for 20 years, 5 years from now. I mean, those are quick run ones. But yeah, that's an option, to have that. So it's not just, oh, here's a pretty park. It's a useful place, not just for educators, but
Something that can be.
it's
something
activity
into the-
areas. If there's, yes, absolutely.
It's the idea from the garden club is also, instituting something, the children's garden. They can like be responsible for, so educational, growing, learning. Experience.
John, you have a question? Trustee Broda? I'm
I
sorry.
think his hand was raised before, I think it's now.
It took long enough and you guys answered what I was gonna ask, so it's perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Joe, is there I'm more visual than, looking at blueprints. Is there anything that actually shows like maybe a CAD or drawing of like what the?
Like a full 3D rendering of it, yeah, one time to give us, we can try to get a rendering.
Are those available or?
I mean, there's renderings of, they're gonna have to make them, there's renderings in the packet of the
Well, it's just,
bathrooms and I know you're asking, though, you're looking for like maybe
You.
one of those, yeah, the sort of the prettier
yeah,
renderings, yeah.
I mean, this looks like, blueprints, right, to me,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't give me the.
And these are the specs,
What this looks like,
Yeah.
how, the buildings that will look like. I think that's what I'm looking for in the public, before to get a better idea of what that is. Is that something that we?
I think we should, they should be able to pull some of those together and get different view angles and do a couple of those shots, so we can have.
It's very difficult to visualize, because my first
Yeah.
impression is, looking at just the blueprint, it looks like we're cramming a lot in there. And maybe it's just because.
I think it's because of the plantings, but yeah, I think
It just, I want to make sure that we have better visual representation of what this is gonna look like.
Yeah.
The other question I had is there any? We had talks of public donation with Justin Martin, we had talks with some landscaping folks. Is there any type of donation being done on any of these projects are included in this?
So, the materials you can see in the. One of these, actually that one too. The materials on the pop-ups, the roofs, and the materials that are spec'd on the roofs, and the materials that are on the the buildings. Those were based on, actually, we worked with Justin Martin on that. Those are based on his material specs or books, whatever he uses, their companies they use, their specs. So this was based on, working with him to give us what they were intending on donating.
So we still donating that still includes this.
Yep, yeah, as far as,
And then we would
Yeah.
be recognizing kids at Hananiga. Put this
Correct.
together, we'll recognize.
Yep.
Justin, what about the landscaping?
there's a center, that center island is still there, and that's originally where we were, seeing a plan on that, that's still available, for. That's still available, we got a blocked out area that. Not here, but, sorry, the 12x12 area in the center of the plaza, that's always been blacked out as some sort of public either artwork or the fountain at one point, some sort of thing. So that is still available too, that we can have it, that can be used. And then there's, plenty of other areas going to donate when I start raising campaign and all that as well.
We have a finalized 3D rendering, can we have it blown up and put with this side?
Yeah.
On the property.
Yeah. I guess, is there any, prior to getting that even, but like, is there anything you can see just on this that you might want tweaked or your comments on? We'll get it.
Originally having something that draw people in the front, potentially a waterfall or something like that. I know that we had gentlemen talk about that. Is that something that still is under consideration?
That can go in the center. If I think he withdrew that, but that's
It's
absolutely.
only gonna go in the center, there's no room to have it in front,
In that front corner, no,
like where the sign is.
correct, yeah, that's,
So what will be the, I guess the hook, getting people down the street, will sign, what the sign?
well, it's very, well, we've seen the renderings, older renderings, but it's an open plaza, right? It's an open plaza with all the market huts along the way there, and then there's a spot in there, and the intention will have some sort of public art, some sort of center portion in there, sort of an art piece in the middle. And that 12 by 12 location in the center of that plaza. So there, I guess for a photo spot, that would be, but the hook is like it's all
Yeah, but-
on Main Street, like
Identifying it coming in.
there will be, we don't have a design as part of it, that will be, discussions, we have to figure out a name too for it, so, and there's a lot of, those types of details too, as we go through it.
I'm thinking like, go to a place you know what it is, but have landscaping, a sign that says that, something that says what it is.
What about lighting? Maybe
There's lighting,
like at nighttime to enhance it.
there's lighting plan on here too, you can see little, lights.
Pathways.
Yeah, pathways, and then there's lighting around the different.
What are we doing with the Hodges Run neighborhood sign?
When we talk about that, that would be moved, or a sign we move to the very back, so the entrance, so the very back of this property roughly, but move to the very, very back there, so that actually the entrance of the.
So that we can
residential portion
dismantle
of
the
it.
one that's there and just move it back.
We can see, we should be able to, I imagine.
I don't,
Um,
why give them?
I wouldn't think it, it's solid, I think it's a solid piece, I think it probably can be.
That's all.
Yeah. But that would be. The
I
entrance
just
would
noticed
be
the
moved to very
sidewalk
back.
goes right through.
Yeah, well, that's what came up with one of the things, that whole area will actually be lower down, that area is to be flagging and flat down, so it will sort of merge into the Main Street and Hydro's Run. And sort of draw people.
Do we have a for the?
We don't, that's what we discussion we'll have next week.
Another question.
We don't know.
Where do we have a business plan?
Once we get this,
Yeah.
once we say this is finalized, we'll we'll start working on that, and that, we've had a lot of people interest of it, coming through with it. But yeah, we've got sort of those rough outsets, but. Until we get sort of a go ahead that we're gonna actually go through some like, go especially like force fit. Obviously, we're gonna release that quite yet.
Well, I think we should be looking at least some of the business plan of like, what are we gonna charge?
Yep.
What's the lease term, stuff like that. Like, we don't have to have a thing. We need to discuss what,
Okay.
that we have to at least make sure that it maintains itself. Otherwise, it's a poor investment. So you should probably do that before we start spending tons of money.
Well, that's my concern too. I mean, I wanna make sure that we're not overspending, like, if there, if you hope if you build it, they will come.
Correct. Right.
But there's a potential where it goes, and then we have this, right? We went over the top as well, so finding that sort of. We have to be very confident that this is gonna work, one, which I think it will, but also making sure that the scope of it is. Because there's some things that we do in other phases, so we're not exposing ourselves to future liabilities than we need to.
Well, I mean, what you're looking at too, your phase one is, so it's a parking lot, which is a needed area for Main Street. And then it's, it's this corner here, right? It's this portion here. It's assembling the huts and it's, open plaza area. So I think we're looking at that, the actual overall part of it. I think
It's the
it
main,
allows us to use it, allows it to be usable, even if it doesn't all go up all the way. I think right now we can always cut back on the number of, huts too, right? We have the Heinig, I think, did like 8 of them.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to cut back every huts, that's gonna pay the bills.
But we'll put I'm saying, that could, if you're talking about you want to reduce or you're concerned people are gonna fill up on it.
People rent the space for weddings.
renting it, yeah, so. We would have, at least you have an open plaza area, you got locations there. I think the numbers we came up with, I think are probably good, but. Say, well, and we guess we'll know too, when we get, the bids, right, we'll get bids back and. At that point too, if it's just, crazy extreme, then maybe now it's time for the board to reconsider it, right? Or maybe that's when we have to pull back, or you reduce some of the scope, or you reduce the initial phases of it.
I mean, I'm okay with it, I like it, but could you at least do us a favor and try to get a rough idea of what it's gonna cost to maintain this project?
Yeah.
I mean, what we're looking at for utilities, what we're looking at for maintenance of plants, lawn, shoveling the sidewalks in the winter, plowing the parking lot and Yeah, we still have to have. accessible. It'll have a park eventually.
But phase one will be an enhancement, right, to the main street, you'll have parking. Public space, public area.
Yeah, I think it's great, it's just, I mean, we're all looking at it, it's awesome, but what's it gonna cost in the end, right?
Well, that's-
Are we gonna actually be able to pay for it?
Yeah.
Are we within budget as it looks here?
Yes, yep. Correct, yes, we are. Actually, we're below our budget because we had to build a line, right, from the pop-ups.
Joe, I think. To Mike's point. Get you a place boundary and have them do it, rendering and all of it like they did on the parking lot here, because. Then you could put that on the website and have people get excited about it in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to start that.
Doesn't cost very much because they're software.
Well, it's just hard to visualize, right? It really is.
And then you have something to see.
And I also think it'll alleviate concerns people at Hodges Run too, because if you look at the schematics here, it looks like every tree, everything is like,
An umbrella.
Yeah.
Something,
it looks similar, people.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
It looks crowded, it looks very,
Well, because everything has to be identified and listed.
Right, exactly. I think it's just.
So I think that's the action.
Visualize the scope of it.
What do we need to do to move on?
It looks like a bunch of umbrellas with tables.
I'd say either lay this over to committee of the whole, or recommend moving it forward to the board. Either, I mean, if it sounds like maybe we want to lay over, we can do that and get renderings.
I think the first.
Otherwise, we can start moving it,
Rendering.
Yeah, I think it rendering and then also, what we talked about, what Justin said about sort of what we think the costs will be. I think that's helpful to just at least have.
Yeah.
A rough,
Better idea.
just a better, like, I don't even understand. I get the business model, but I mean, this is an incubator, right? So we're not trying to make money on it, but we want people to move in. So what is it gonna cost a month? How are we gonna, pay for what, does the cost we charge gonna offset the utilities?
I need a break even point.
Yeah, I mean, just so that's helpful to understand that as well.
I agree, yeah.
So I think before we move, I think that if we can get that, then for the next meeting, we could discuss that.
We need a motion to lay that over.
Yeah, I think much.
And I think we should add a bronze right there with a 12 of the chief, and they could probably come to see the chief in bronze.
Motion to lay it over for the next video of the whole meeting. Render.
With a line on it, you can get that on that, right?
Yeah, great. Cost estimates.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee. Motion by
Yeah,
trustee
cost
Clark.
estimates.
Oh, sorry. Second by Mike Simon. Vote please.
Frank,
Yes.
me,
Yes.
Rhoda. Rhoda,
See ya.
Let's see. Not try.
I think it's frozen.
There he is, there he is.
There it is. John, can you hear us?
You wait.
Trustee Broda, can you hear us, John?
He's talking, but his audio.
Are you muted, John?
It's not muted.
Anyone else sign language?
I think you just move forward here and
You can go along.
using, I mean.
Vote?
Yeah.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes. Good. Number 8, discussion and recommendation of a professional services agreement with Place Foundry LLC. By economic development consulting services by the Village of Roscoe. On-call services. Discussion on number 8, please.
Yeah, I'll start off. I looked at the information that was provided in the scope of service at the last meeting that they have for Place Foundry. And I personally feel that on-call $6,000 a month is a little excessive for Place Foundry. They've helped us a lot. We're getting to the point where, you know, we're able to do a lot of these things on Main Street on our own, but I think from a budget perspective, it may be something that we should consider scaling back on.
So just because I wasn't here, whatever, it's $6,000, no matter if we use them.
Correct.
It's just like a placeholder. Right. It's like, okay. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. The price.
And yeah, I brought up one idea of à la carte.
And what they say.
If we want, they can do pretty much, it sounded as if they could do pretty much anything we.
So they're flexible.
Correct, that's, I mean, I believe that Sydney said that at the last meeting that. We wanted to pick. As a board, what our main. Topic might want to be, or top our goals, if we want them to continue, or do we not want them to continue?
I'd say I think biggest thing to think about as we go through on this thing too, it's just. Trying to, wait to sort of figure out how we want to balance it, but we don't have a economic development director here. We don't have a zoning administrator in-house, we don't have a planning department. So we've been outsourcing, and I think we should, I requested, before when I talked about we are understaffed in that area. And we're outsourcing to these different agencies, we're using Big Foundry, trying to use them as like economic development consultants, but it's difficult, right? It's difficult to do. As an outsourcing agreement. I think Place Foundry has been great with our experience with them. However, yes, it's a limited scope, right? It's a limited amount they can do, it's a limited amount of time, we're one of, many clients they have, that they've got. So as we think through, what we're using for, whether it's reducing this, whether it's, somebody else, whether it's whatever else it is, to realize that we're, very, very limited here compared to. And we've got, we've got the Hodges Run project we're talking about here. We've got a lot of zoning applications, we have a lot of development, we've got a lot of, vision and plans by the board. For what you want to see Main Street, and we've got. Me, HR person, permitting assistant. That's it. So
I don't see
that's
the
it.
number of $6,000 a month. What I see is
Yeah, I did.
$98.50 for 12-month contract.
You have the.
I'm on page 54.
40,000 for the year.
Yes,
110, it's 98.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, it was very well laid out. It wasn't ad hoc.
No, it's in the packet, it's $6,000.
I didn't see that.
Yes, 110, so it's 92,000
$98.50.
or 9,200 times 12, so I think it's 110.
110. It's on page 54. Final letter, it says memorandum, here's based on the professional sports service transform 12 months planning the visible results. Place Foundry requests a 12-month contract at $98.50 a month to implement your Main Street blueprint and Vance Rock and Road development. And then it talks about each one of the 40%, 25%, 20%. I don't see $6,000. Maybe I'm missing it, that's what I'm asking the
I
question.
think the 6,000 was, I think we originally had the 2 separate agreements, so I think this is that combined.
This is a whole year of doing, and he lays out all the things he's gonna do.
The total of this is 110, the proposed one they have in front of you is 110,000.
One that's on this, that we have in the packet.
Correct.
I think we should consider how we pay for this, what our priorities is. Because for instance, you can talk about economic development, I don't think that Davidson is out there knocking on doors, talking to people. That's something that you need to do organically, or have somebody that's focused on doing that. Meeting with Justin Martin, meeting with, Nick, meeting with these folks. And I think.
Very unusual, we don't have that, yeah.
And that's, you know, something maybe we could look at, doing differently. As we move forward, because like you said, they're a small firm and you need to have somebody local here that knows the businesses that are gonna work with the folks rather than somebody from. You know, outside maybe doing that, so I don't know if that's an internal thing or something that we consider, you know. Looking at somebody to help us with that, and I think those are some of the things we could do. And I think as we wind down on Main Street, and the focus is kind of shifting more towards. What we're doing on 90 and, you know, those resources that we could use Fair Grant, we could use other, go ahead.
I was gonna say the same thing without putting you on a spot, Brandon. Aside from economic development, what can you folks provide?
I mean, I can,
Generally.
yeah,
I mean,
well, especially because I'm not a manager, I don't typically like to do that. I mean, I can tell you from, you know, grant services, I saw that was one of the things that Place Foundry would help with. That's obviously something that we can do. As far as the actual, you know, it's more of a planning effort. That's not really our Fairgrants forte. I would say that's more of, again, a planning organization with architects and, you know, marketing teams, things like that. We have a marketing team, but that's internal, right? We market our projects and our services. It's not really something that we do for other clients. So short answer is, I'm not sure. I'd like to talk to our managers about that. I think there's some things we can help with, but realistically, I think what they're proposing is better suited for, you know, them.
Laid out on page 46 here, of things.
Does anyone know of another firm in our area or something we wanna take a look at?
There's a lot,
I think it'd be beneficial.
Firms
for us
like-
to possibly just hire someone.
yeah, there's a lot of firms like this, right, for these projects.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a better investment
Yeah,
at $72,000 to have somebody internal that can go do this stuff and then. As far as grant writing goes
you
too,
can contract, yeah.
I don't know if anybody here would be willing to learn grant writing, but Rock Valley offers classes for it. We have any staff members that. would
Well,
like to
and
do
that's,
that.
it's having set numbers, right? So
Well, that
that's the
may
issue.
be really
It's,
landed.
it's, yeah, it's getting at your economic, really, it's getting at the planning person, right? Planning economic development. That's what we do not have here, right? We're, for the size, even for, you know, smaller than this community. That's a position we don't have. So we don't have the person who's separately overseeing the zoning, the planning, the economic development director. We've had those positions in the past, of them, in the last, you know, budget times here, last years. But that's something that we are missing. We absolutely are missing from this organization. And with all the plans are here, all of the excitement, all the, you know, the vision that this board has. We need to get that position fulfilled.
I think we need, this brings up a greater place boundary thing, right? This is really looking at the structure.
Yep.
About, like, I don't know job descriptions, I don't know, you know, where we're at, what those entail. Project management at one time, William was mentioning, right? Economic development. I think before we go jump right in, because this, right now, the contract is month to month with Place Foundry, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, I would hate to like double down on it and say, hey, you know what? We could use an economic development or project manager, what? So this is my proposal. My proposal would be to have an educational session with the board with the structure of the, you know, outside of police and public works, but the structure of who does what, where the gaps are, where we can work, what's being outsourced, maybe the fairground, what's being outsourced to Vanderwall, what's being outsourced. And sort of get a better feel, and we have new board members here about the structure of the business of the village, right? How do we work? What's the budget for it? Where are the gaps? You know, we can work, maybe just a workshop to really discuss that. So we go in it, you know, really with our eyes wide open. There may be efficiencies that we could have, there's gaps that we certainly have. But I think.
And that'd be.
Let me ask you, and just give us your opinion. 72,000, whatever for a person? Or re-up this?
Well,
I mean, if you ask me, I think we absolutely need to have, you need that a top developer director position that's really, they're gonna be doing planning, zoning, economic development. That's a standard position in
That's why I asked.
every government.
let's look at, we know the I mean, let's, if, I don't know if it's like, if it's done in a committee hall, if it's a discussion, we spend time to look at the structure and say, okay, here's the organization chart. Now, this is what these people are doing. This is, for HR, does Ann need more, time to spend on that as opposed to other things? So I think that we really could look at, and also really, how can we get the best out of the people there? So instead of them being, doing other things or being not focused on maybe critical core, subject matter, they're actually doing what they need to be doing. And, where can we use Fair Graham, where can we use Vanderwall, where are we at with these
Better
things?
utilize everything.
Yeah, I mean,
All the stuff I brought up with the software.
because I think, the project management thing, I think that's the thing, we always come back to, like, where are we with the signs, where are we at with the the building down the street, those types of things. And it's hard to keep up on all this stuff, right? I think that we just need to have some type of better system. And I think that Place Foundries served a very good portion for getting this kicked off and doing things. But, we don't need them for everything. We don't need them for all these different things. So I think rather than just saying, here, we're gonna cut you a check, we can be your entertainer, let's see if there's another way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like you got two things going there with the job descriptions, education, everybody, figure it out.
So everybody looked through all the job descriptions we have out there? You guys are familiar with our descriptions? Okay, yeah, so first, yeah, absolutely, we'll make
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
And then the second is with the planning, that Place Foundry's done. I mean, a lot of the planning we've got out there. Now we need to execute. To have somebody that can take the ball and run with it in-house. Is I think where we.
Well, I think nobody's gonna market better Roscoe than somebody from Roscoe. It's hard to get somebody like a consultant or, somebody to come out here and really live in the community, understand the community, live and die with it, right? Get excited, because they're gonna have their time spent, that comes through. Clearly.
And that's a whole career path, right? I mean, economic development it's a thing. We talk about, economic development, we'll go talk to some businesses. I mean, it's a thing. It's like an actual career path. So hiring those professionals, making sure we
I
do
would
that.
argue that would help with the economic development thing. I think I see the numbers declining in this, sort of the downtown business coalition. And, I think that if you had somebody that's a full-time or somebody that's like a cheerleader for that to develop that and get key people, like Mr. Valley was saying, involved in this, it would help us moving forward. I'm not saying that Place Foundry students, I think that they're just trying to do many hats, right? So.
Motion to lay this over then, and I guess my second question would be, can we somehow get together as a group to discuss said position?
We could have.
Yeah.
Students.
Yeah.
Committee of all.
I have a question about what do we do in the interim while we're working through this? Since we had Business Alliance meetings in the works for committees, June 11th, and then another larger meeting at the end of the month. Just where are we? What do we do?
I think we continue month to month with that.
Without
Those are us-
timing
why
anything
not?
longer.
Yeah.
I agree. I think just keep it.
No time on it.
We're-
Okay, motion to lay it over and talk about possible new position.
Can we, possibly, one of our committee meetings in July, have just a change? As work needs, they know where everybody is struggling and where we can improve, or what we can do to help improve the struggle.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we love that. or come in. I think another thing, we went to this, seminar, but another good thing to do, I think, would be is if, schedule time to come in, we'll meet with you, come in, talk to us, come in
Well, I like
and,
this forum.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah,
times we
yeah.
bounce questions that like,
Worked
well, Sima brings something up and
Yeah.
then trigger something in my head.
Yeah.
and ask a question.
we can go through departments, have departments come and talk, that would be fine, I mean, we'd like to do that.
And I'm limited on time here.
I really, we'll start, like, talking through here's how the village operates, here's how we run, and.
Maybe if we have a later committee of the whole
Yeah.
mode, we can devote some time to it as well. Make sure the public's aware. I think it's a really good thing to put on social media, make sure people are understanding, they have interests.
So, motion to lay it over and I will move your motion. We could, let us know what meeting it's gonna be in July. Get to what the department is and figure out what works for them.
We'll start we'll start next meeting, right, we start bringing these through and have people start talking about departments, talk about what they're doing.
And also like Fairground, Vanderwalls, these other folks that we're working with,
We have a
right?
motion, you gotta get a second before you do that.
Yes. It's kind
Second,
of defined.
second.
Now you can keep discussing.
All right, let's keep discussing.
Thanks for being.
My only point was not only internal staff, I think that we let's leverage the relationships we have here. And I think Place Founder's part of that as well, like where do they see themselves, if we go down this road, I think that they should, be part of this Fairground, Vanderwalt's, not just, we gotta see what do we have, do an assessment of, what works, what are the gaps are, where are their efficiencies and economies of scale.
Well, it'll help too, because, we don't know what you do every single day in and out. It'll help us understand that a little better and maybe our frustration. Why isn't this getting done? Because we only see a few things that are in front of us, we don't see the million things,
If we're discussing a new position, you're gonna wanna know exactly, what type of person we're gonna want to fill the, the help out. And we need to know where we gotta cover.
Very good. Okay. We have a motion by trustee Block, second by trustee Simon. Vote please.
Babcock,
Motion is to lay it over.
Yes.
Yes.
me,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Simon,
That's
Wright,
Yes.
Rhoda,
Yes.
Very good. Public comment? Second public comment, Mr. Brock.
Ray Brock, 5703 Elmore Drive. Two comments. First comment is regarding the Hodges Run project. Is someone, I know I can't ask questions, but I'm commenting. Will someone be in charge of closing the huts and closing the bathrooms every day? And if that's been discussed.
I
And
really just the huts, those will be individually sort of.
Business
developers.
that's the keys.
Right.
okay, in the bathrooms,
Right.
We'll have one of our side that.
Okay, and then regarding the painting over the building over there, from what I know, previous trustees had no voice in the choice of the mural.
Thank you, Terry. Any other presentation? Any need for an executive session? We have a call for an adjournment, I'll say aye.
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 Oh, we have to.
Okay.
Okay. I motion second for adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Mike Simon, trustee Simon, second by trustee Block. Al say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Calling you out.
what do I do?
You're, no.